Hello, my wonderful friends. You are welcome to the program Arise and Shine. My name is Stephen. Today, we are going to examine how our great art, the Discrimination Against Persons Living with Disabilities Provision Act, has affected the society. Don't forget to like this channel, subscribe to it so that the channel will grow, share so that others will see it. I want to also use this opportunity to call on all the governors who are yet to adopt and domesticate the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Provision Act in their states to please do so as a matter of concern. This act is dear to us and is the only instrument that can aid the fast integration of persons with disability into the society. We appreciate those that have already done that. May God continue to uplift them. And we urge those that are yet to do so to please comply. Like I told you, we are going to examine the journey so far. You will remember that in January 23rd, 2019, our President Muhammadu Buhari, signed into law the Great Act. And since then, till now, is now 4 years. One should normally expect that some changes must have occurred as a result of this act being in existence. Is that the case? Let's take a critical look at the environment. Taking where I am as a case study, not much has been achieved as regards access to physical structures, because the building already existing still wear the same look, and the new buildings that are being erected still take the same old forms. It now goes to prove a point. It's either those that are in charge of approving building plans are not aware of the art, or maybe they don't want to comply. Because if those that are in charge of approving building plans are applying that art in their duties, then that means that every building that is being erected, as far as it has a plan, approved plan, must provide all the facilities stipulated by the act. So we need to make sure that people in charge are doing the right thing. Apart from our governor, the governor of my state, Senator Dr. Ato Ifeanyi, who, from my observation, considers persons with disability anytime he's erecting any structure, he makes sure that he provides every facility that is needed to aid the entrance of PWDs into that very structure. Apart from him, every other person, companies, individuals are still doing the same thing as they used to do, building without considering persons with disabilities. And so we still find it difficult to gain entrance to places like banks, churches, hotels, eateries, all the public places. Getting entrance into those places are still stressful and sometimes impossible. So there is need for us to alert these places, call their attention to what they need to do. That is reconstructing the building. And when we talk about access to building, it has to be access in the total sense of it. That is, starting from the entrance to the compound, to the building itself, and to every other room in that building. Why am I saying so? From observation, some compounds look like hills from coming in through the gate. It look like hill that you have to need somebody to push you through for you to enter such compounds. And when even you want to enter the compound, you will find it difficult to access the building because of the nature of the entrance, especially when you are on crutches or wheelchair. There was an experience I had I entered a building. The entrance to the building was okay, but when I got into the building, I was pressed and needed to ease myself. I now discovered that the entrance to the toilet was very narrow, and so my wheelchair could not access the doorway to that toilet. So I have to go back right outside the building because all the compound were flooded. So I have to move outside the compound to ease myself. Imagine the stress. So when we are talking about access to building, it doesn't start with the door of the building. It has to do with both the gate, entrance from the gate to the entrance of the building, and every other room in that same building. So I'm calling upon our brothers and sisters who own these public places, be it hotel, telecommunication industries, eateries, churches, to please try to put some things in place like ramps and lifts where necessary. This is to make life easy for everyone, especially persons with disabilities. Another area that I think much is not being achieved is the area of discrimination as contained in part 1 of the act. Discrimination and creation of awareness. I think discrimination has to do with attitude of persons. Before one can discriminate against you, it has to do with how the person perceives you, what the person thinks about you, and how he regards you. That determines how he's going to accept you or not. So discrimination has to do with attitude. And so for us to achieve that part and eradicate discrimination, we have to create awareness. We have to sensitize people on the rights and privileges of persons living with disabilities. I think this should be the function of our Great Commission, the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. They should try and design awareness programs in collaboration with the Ministry of Information, so that awareness has to be created. Seminars and workshops that will tend to teach people on issues of disability should be created. When I say teaching people, it's not just teaching persons with disability on their rights, also gathering the able-bodied persons and sensitizing them on disability issues. I know it's not going to be easy, it's going to cost money, but what is worth doing is worth doing well. If there's no pain, there will be no gain. We need to do all those things so that the art will have a kind of support and be able to run smoothly. You cannot just relax and say the art is there, because a lot is happening. There are so many disturbing experiences I've had in the past. I know I'm not the only one in that shoe. Other people are still experiencing the same thing, but I want to use my experience to portray some points. When we talk about discrimination, it boils down to our rights, which affects employment of persons with disabilities, accessing of health institution, education, and even sometimes affects you accessing employment programs. Because when people are not aware of how to treat you, there's a tendency that they will treat you wrongly. And sometimes these things should be made to be statutory, so that whoever is involved has no choice than to implement. Our great art has provided for that by making sure that all the aspects of life is captured. But what is left is implementation. Because recently I've had some experiences. There was a time I went to a function where the chairman of my local government was empowering persons. It was a cash empowerment, and 10 persons were selected from each ward. I sat down watching to see how many disabled persons will be mentioned. Surprisingly, no person living with disability was called up for that empowerment. And then I called their attention. I was told that it is not the chairman or the chairman of the party that selected people, that it was the committee that was set up that selected people. And that was funny. It was a funny excuse as far as I'm concerned, because even if you as a chairman set up a committee to select persons for empowerment, it does not mean that you should not have an input or directive on what to do. Even if there is no directive from you, let me assume that they are giving free hand to operate. Are you trying to tell me that those people in that committee are not aware that there are persons living with disability in their midst? Then they see them. So that went that way, with the excuse that it was the committee that selected people and not the chairman. So I now begin to ask, why is it that the people in that committee did not find it necessary to include persons with disability, and we were not even aware of the selection until the day of the empowerment? Because if we were aware, we would have gone there to alert them, say, please carry our people along. So these selections were done without raising awareness for people to know that such a selection is going on. It was done in-house. So the selected people they feel they want to favor. And I told you, when you talk about political favor, it doesn't favor persons with disability at all, because they feel we're not important politically. But that is not true, because every man has a vote. Whether you are physically challenged, you are visually impaired, you are hearing or speech impaired, whether you are even mentally challenged, but what matters is that you have a voter's card, a permanent voter's card, and you can thumbprint and vote. Everybody has one vote. Nobody votes more than once in a particular election. So what makes you think that that person you are empowering is more important than that disabled person you are ignoring? So these such persons need to be enlightened. They need to be tutored on how to deal with people. Everything is not about favoritism. You have to favor your people, maybe because those persons with disability are not part of your people, you don't care. So the law must take its course. Talking about attitude, there's also a program I went. In that very particular gathering, it was a gathering of both the able-bodied persons and the persons living with disabilities. It was a political gathering anyway. I don't want to mention the political party, but if I do, they will say I have been paid to criticize. Nobody has paid me. I'm only doing my job of sensitizing the entire populace, and that is what I'm trying to do. So I will not mention anybody's name or any particular party, but it was a political gathering. The important thing there is that there was not enough seat for everybody to sit. Everybody was hustling seats, and the able-bodied, the young able-bodied, vibrant youths that are there did not even care about the disabled persons there. They were struggling for seats, sitting down. Those few persons with disability who were able to acquire seats sat down, some were standing up. And I was wondering, how can somebody who calls himself your brother, able-bodied, not sick, not old, strong and energetic, be comfortably seated watching somebody with a bad leg standing? Wow. Another part that struck me that day is that when some of them went inside the hall to be attended to, they left the seats vacant. And normally when you are attended to, you should come out and leave. That's what they say. Once you are attended to, you go. Now immediately they got up and entered the hall. Some persons, physical challenged persons, went to sit on that chair, and the ones there say, get up, get up. Somebody is sitting there. They now say, okay, when they come, we'll get up. I was thinking that when those people come back, they will just say, okay, you sit, we are going. But when they came out, they didn't do that. They asked those people to get up. are sitting on my seat. They actually got up, and these young able-bodied men sat down comfortably. They wanted to sit and wait for their friends to go and be attended to, so that all of them will go together. That thing touched my mind. I didn't speak because they have the right to retain their seats. They are not under any obligation to stand up for us or provide seat for us. But conscience, if you really have the conscience, and I believe everybody in that gathering is a Christian. That's what I believe anyway. It might not be so, but my belief in that gathering, we are all Christians, and if so, we should be Christ-like. And that is having sympathy, or at least empathy. Not even sympathy, empathy. Put yourself in that person's shoe. If you who is healthy cannot stand, how much more somebody with a bad leg? All these things happen on daily life. When you come to queues, anywhere there is queue, people will queue up, and maybe because they are stressed or they are angry, when a physical challenged person comes in, they will expect that person to stand in that queue with them. Where are you going? You don't feel stay queue. Oh, what a word. You want somebody with a bad leg to stand in the queue with you. Where's your conscience? And this our act provide that persons living with disability should be considered first in situations where there are queue, in provision of accommodation, and in also in emergency situations. This is what the act provided. In part 4 of this our great act, go and look at it. It talks about liberty and right to education, healthcare services, first consideration for accommodation, and in queues and in situations of emergencies, that persons with disability should be first considered. But what is happening in the reality of itself is not what we are expecting. Why? I believe it is because people are yet to be aware of this act. And so, I strongly believe that we need to create adequate awareness, sensitizing the public on the contents of this act by way of organizing sensitization programs and jingles that will be cutting across all the media stations, especially government media stations where we can get them free. And if we see private media stations that will give us that support as part of their corporate social responsibility, is also good. Our national commission must stand up and live up to this, because if we don't speak for ourselves, I don't think other people will do that. You have to start it yourself, then others will follow suit. In my opinion, our commission, the National Commission for Persons Living with Disabilities, should set up a task force that will be saddled with the duty of moving around to ensure that part 2 of our great act is complied with. That is the part that talks about accessibility to public buildings. The task force should go around, ensure that the already existing buildings are being reconstructed, and the new ones that are coming up are complying with the building code. They also move into offices that are in charge for approving building plans to ensure that they make it a policy that no plan should be approved without complying with the building code. The commission should also design programs, public enlightenment programs, sponsor jingles, and organize seminars all geared towards creating awareness. This will go a long way to assist in preaching the gospel for a better society. The United Nations has set the ball rolling by saying that nobody should be left behind, but it does not stop in speaking. We have to match our words with action, and that is the only way to achieve a conducive society for everybody to live in. I want to see a society where everything is rightly placed, where in a situation where there is employment exercise going on, the organizers of that employment exercise will not have to be forced to include a slot for persons with disability. They should have, from inception, map out the plan that so number of persons with disability will be accommodated, because the act provides that 5% should be kept for persons living with disability, and so every organization is expected to obey this. So when they are employing, when they are giving accommodation, when they are providing health services, whatever form of service they are about to render, that percentage should be reserved. We don't need to come writing to them and then telling them, calling their attention to it. It should be a policy that is well known by every employer of labor. So in whatever capacity you are serving, whether in the committee stage or in the overall running of the affair of an institution, it will be at the back of your mind that you must carry persons with disability along. It's not something of choice. It's a matter that is very, very statutory. It is lawful for you to do it, and so it is not by choice that you have to put all these things in place. So whenever we hear there's an empowerment program, we as an association of persons living with disability will now go and start writing, please consider our members. At times the write-up will not even be considered, it will be thrown away, and before you know that it was not considered, everything has ended. So these policies must be put in place by government itself. But that is why our commission should rise up and make sure that they follow everything to the letter, because they are the only government agency I know that has our interest 100% as their duty. I know you will say, people not under the Ministry of Women Affairs, Community and Social Development. Yes, we are, but they have other duties as well of taking care of women, girl child, and other things they do. So our issue is just part of it. They might forget. It's possible they might forget, so we need to be reminding them. Sometimes we hear that women were empowered by the Ministry of Women Affairs, and when you look at it, you will not see any person living with disability. It's not that they don't know that they will empower some people, maybe they forgot, and maybe because we did not hear, we will not get the information on time that there is going to be an empowerment, we will not go to remind them. They will say get child empowerment. At times there will be the same person in it. It has been happening. We have been seeing it. So they are taking care of us, that's true, but at times they tend to forget if nobody is there to remind them. But our National Commission cannot afford to forget, because that's the only duty they do. That's why I'm calling upon them. It is their duty. That is why they are created, to rise up and live up to expectation. They really need to go into the society and make sure that this act is enforced to the letter. I have no doubt in the abilities of those people that were appointed to do that job. I know they are capable. I know that they can deliver. But they need to up the game. They are doing something, they are not just idle. I know they are doing a lot of things. I've heard about the programs they organize, empowerment they participated, but a lot of lacuna is still in existence. Because there was an empowerment program that was carried out by the federal government, and in my constituency, that's in my federal constituency, persons with disability were struggling for it. And when we complain, they say your legislature did not bring your name. Can you imagine? Our legislature, not even our commission, They're talking about legislature. The person representing us there in the House of Rep, they say he did not bring our name. Is he supposed to bring our name? Is that the duty of our commission? That means they did not contact the commission, and this thing should be stopped. It should be stopped. Because if we continue having that is they are still following status quo. That means somebody who doesn't have a political godfather cannot get all these things, and that is what we want to stop. Let the commission take full charge. If there's any empowerment, the commission should be called upon to bring people. I know that even in the commission there can be favoritism because we are all human beings, but at least that favoritism should come to persons with disability. Yeah, they should be favored, because if you give the legislative representative the choice, it might pack only those that are working for him or her, and that will now make it one-sided. But when you call on the commission for persons with disability, say bring your persons, they will bring persons with disability or caregivers, wife and children of persons with disability, because I believe if you are related to a person with disability, you are disabled as well, because you face the same challenge as they do. And so such opportunities, you can be allowed to benefit. That's my thinking, and that's what it should be. If you give a disabled person a slot, if he puts his wife, his son, I don't think there's anything, his children, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as far as they are his family. Because when you give everybody people slot, they put their wife and children, they put friends even. But in the case of disabled person, wife, children, they are all, because when there's employment, they say bring disabled persons, and maybe they gave you 20 slots, and out of the persons that are qualified from as a disabled persons to occupy that position, it's just maybe 15. We still have 5 remaining, and so those disabled people have wives and children that are qualified. They will not be able to use the slot. They will say they are not disabled. Then that remaining 5 will go back to the people that brought the slot. Who are they going to put that place? It's not able-bodied people that are not even related to disabled persons. Can you imagine? Now he say a disabled person cannot bring his wife or his children to take that slot because they are not disabled persons. Now you now take the slot back to the people that brought it. They will now refill it with their own relative who are not even disabled person, are not even related to disabled person. Who is deceiving who? So when you give disabled person slot, it is our 5%. And if we see that we cannot have enough disabled persons who can feed that spot because they are not qualified for it, but they have wife and children who are qualified, they should be allowed, as far as it is their relative, should be allowed to fill it. It's our law. As far as the commission approves of it and say yes, we know this is their town, this is their, all these things should be allowed, because we need to be growing. There was a time I met somebody and said, please help me. The president say, but if we were giving slot, how do they allow us to use that slot for ourselves unless the basic is simple? He say, so which person slot you want me to use give you now? When you people have your own slot. So people that are handling this should also be reasonable. So we don't have to be crying when we need to be jubilating. Our commission should also take note of this. Everything they are designing, you should carry the wife of disabled persons and their children along, so that things, when you talk about education, you have to help a disabled to train his child. Yes, you don't just train only the persons that are disabled, not that their children. If you help me train one of my child or two, you have removed the burden from my shoulder, and I'll be able to face life better. If you also train them in areas of handwork, learning trade, you're also helping me. I remove burden from my shoulder. So also when you employ my wife, you are lessening the problem for me. But when you say because she's not disabled, you cannot do that, then who do you expect to do it for me? It's a food for thought. So a lot of things have to be put in place. We need to begin to consider a lot of things. and we need to begin to match our words with action. Let us just go and relax, say we have the art. The art will not operate itself. Somebody has to put things in motion for it to begin to work well. And for sure, supposed to be championed by we, the persons that are living with disabilities. There's nothing about us without us. We must learn to lick our lips so that harmattan will not do it for us. I think I have said much. A word they say is enough for the wise. If you look at all the points I have raised, I know there might be the ones I have not raised. That's why I need you to contact me through my WhatsApp line 0902 868 1427. Tell me about the things that are happening in that area where you are. Has there been any remarkable change? If not, what are the things you think that we need to put in place to make these things work well? If there are changes, send me pictures or videos through that WhatsApp line. I will display them here on this channel for others to see. And it will serve as an encouragement to those who have not done anything, to let them know that in so state, something is happening, and so you have to follow suit so that you will not be lagging behind. Remember to like this channel, share, subscribe so that the channel may grow. Let me once again call upon all the governors who are here to adopt and domesticate the Discrimination Against Persons Living with Disabilities Prohibition Act to please do so as a matter of concern. That's the only act that will enable us integrate into the society very, very easily. When you make life easy for us, you're also making life easy for yourself. At times when I want to interview this, I call on everybody people to help me push the wheelchair. If I can wheel it myself, I will not bother you. Societies like America make provision for us. That's why when the one on wheelchair was once the vice president of America, nobody had to push him into the office or out of the office, because all those building structures were constructed with everybody in mind. Our nation cannot be different. Anybody can have injury that will make you not be able to do what you used to do. That is temporary disability. That's what they call it. Anybody can be temporarily disabled. I don't want to use the word permanent because that's not something you pray for anybody to have. But even when you have not had it, put yourself in our shoe. If you were me, what would you have wanted people to do to you? Or how would you have wanted the society to look? Please, let's try and be our brother's keeper. Thank you for tuning into my channel once again. We'll meet again. Remain blessed and remain in the presence of the Most High God. Thank you very much.